the entertainment highlight of the week.
Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good day.
Goodness.
Loch Ness.
Headphones have fallen off.
God.
I just walked straight into it.
That was a real own goal, wasn't it? If ever there was one.
I was determined not to think. There you are. That was the Loch Ness game. It's not a game and it's not about Loch Ness.
That's it. Well, if you're listening, then this is the Benji and Nick Show, the podcast where we talk about cult television, TV from the past, TV you might remember, TV you might want to forget, all those little gems. We look into it, explore it, review it, and sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. But not just that, we have a sponsor, and we are proud to sponsor The Village Shop. Nick, would you like to tell us about that?
Well, yes, we're sponsored by The Village Shop, the online e-store run by the Unmutual website and Coit Media Limited. If you were listening last week, you've heard me say this before, but if you weren't, this will be the first time. It's your one-stop shop for all things Prisoner, Danger Man and Patrick McGoohan, including DVDs, Blu-rays, books, CDs, audio dramas, clothing, photos, homeware and gifts. You could give a gift of homeware, couldn't you? New items are added weekly. Gosh, Benji and Nick Show listeners can enjoy a 10% discount on all purchases by using the code LOCHNESS, LOCHNESS 10. So all that, all together, uppercase LOCHNESS 10. Uppercase letters, no spaces. So you use that code at the checkout and you'll get a 10% discount. And a further donation will also be made to Hope House Children's Hospice at no cost to you. The address is theprisonershop.co.uk. Let's have a look, see what they've got on there at the moment.
There's so many good goodies in there. Obviously, there's The Prisoner, The Essential Interviews Volume 1 CD. But I have to highlight, there's a DVD on there at the moment, 50 Years of The Prisoner, the DVD of the Elstree Studios celebration event. Now, Rick Davey, who is behind, he's the master behind the Prisoner Shop. He hosts these fantastic celebration events at Elstree where he has a lot of members of the cast and crew come up and talk about their time for all kinds of different programs, a lot of ITC stuff, in this case, The Prisoner. Highly recommend it. That's really, especially with this, it's a great DVD because you will get some opinions of people, some people you might have heard before, and also he often gets quite obscure people up who you might not have heard too much from. So definitely give that one a go.
Oh yes, I'm just looking at Escape in Time, popular British television themes of the 1960s. There's a 33-track audio CD which includes several 1960s TV themes, including Danger Man, The Avengers and more, and also some incidental music from The Prisoner. Ooh, that's highly to be
my kind of avenue, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get Callum from Big Finish, absolute winner there.
Penny
Pop Goes the
Farthing
Easel,
Planter.
2 CD soundtracks. The start of the swinging 60s. All this stuff is great, isn't it? All these lovely little obscure things that you might not find elsewhere, which is nice.
You can get the 5.5 foot rover balloon. Oh,
You can, that's, if you've got relatives coming round that you perhaps want to go home early, just set that on them. I'll never forget when I was staying at a hotel in Newcastle on the Tyne, and there was a bridge across the road, and there was what looked like just a rover just stuck to the side of it. And I remember every single day when I opened the curtains feeling mildly on edge by having to see this rover staring at me.
well, they're weather balloons, aren't they?
They are. Whether they're balloons is no debate.
Very good.
But yes, head over to there, theprisonershop.co.uk, and you will be able to find all kinds of good goodies.
By the way, I'm not Benji.
And I'm not Nick. Welcome.
We'll be discussing The Avengers, the man-eater of Surrey Green. That's what we watched last week, and we'll be talking about that today. We'll also hopefully be talking to Jamie, son of Jerry Anderson, for no good reason except that he's a fine human being, and we enjoy a chat with him, don't we?
We do. He's great company. But first, of course, I think we should. I was about to say we should talk to the emails. We should read the emails.
Well, I know, but I wanted to mention Tightrope.
Oh yes, Tightrope. Yes.
It's a kids' TV series from ATV from the early 70s, created by Victor Pemberton, and it was really to capitalise on the success of Spencer Banks playing Simon Randall in Time Slip. And Spencer Banks returns in a different role, but starring in a kids' TV series. Only a black and white print of it remains now. It was. You watch in black and white the thing saying, in colour, and it isn't.
It's taunting you.
But it's I'm only on episode 5, and there's, I think, like 14 episodes or something. And I'm really enjoying it. So I'd recommend that you go straight to network DVD, people, and get that. If that is to your taste. I'm just loving it.
I love that it's got John Savardin in it. How's there?
Well, he is brilliant.
He's a great actor, isn't he?
It's clearly Victor Pemberton doing his version of Doctor Who. John Savardin is basically Doctor Who in it. He's the sort of eccentric, strange man who sort of appears from nowhere. I mean, I just saw a scene where Simon Randall's running away from these American security guards around an airbase in Britain, and he dives down into the bushes, having run for what seems like miles, and then suddenly John Savardin just appears, hits the ground beside him, and says, "Do you mind if I join you?"
Oh, great.
He sort of just appears out of nowhere all the time with an umbrella and bow tie and a sort of fedora hat, you know. It's just, he's Doctor Who, for goodness sake.
John Savardin as Doctor Who. How's there?
Yeah, but that's just him in Coronation Street.
That's just Fred Elliott, yeah. He was in Battle of Britain as well.
In Battle of Britain?
Yeah, he was, yeah. There's a scene
in Waterloo.
He delivers like a dossier or something. He goes up some stairs and walks into a room. So I was saying something about the Germans, then walks out again. But I always remember thinking, oh, yeah.
He's in a lot of movies around that time. You know, he in Waterloo, he is the guy who comes in with the information to Wellington at the ball beforehand to sort of say Napoleon's on the move. And when, because he did a big finish it was a long time ago, wasn't it? No, a year or so ago. And so I mentioned to him being in Waterloo. He absolutely remembered it. He's a great anecdoter. I think he was quite a challenge to Colin Baker because he's a bit of a talker, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it holds court.
Yeah, Colin's thinking, why are people not listening to me?
I like people like that, though. You know, interesting people with stories to tell.
His career has been amazing.
He's had a very diverse career.
Superb
and he's very
actor.
good. He's good at everything, isn't he, really?
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, just brilliant.
So if you're listening, John, cheers.
You were saying about emails, weren't you?
Yeah, it was. We'll tackle the emails first of all, head on. If you do want to send us an email, because we love to talk to you and we love to read your comments and thoughts and your suggestions, then you can send an email to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. Simple as that. Send them over, and if you're one of the lucky ones, we'll read it out. It's quite chaotic, our process. We just sort of pluck them out of thin air and say, that'll do, that's the one. So this one here was sent at 1520, good year, on the 9th of the 1st, 2020. And it's sent from Rob Vincent. I enjoyed your entire Pyramids of Mars commentary, as I do all of your commentaries. But I must admit I did spend part 4 eagerly anticipating your reactions to the infamous Hand of Sutekh scene. As that glorious moment happened to occur in my ear things directly after a particular rough part of my workday, you guys raised my spirits just when they needed raising. Much obliged. Thanks, as always, to both of you, and keep on being awesome. Rob, sent from my telling bone. Well, appreciate the love there. Thank you, Rob. And we always like to inject a bit of silliness into people's lives where possible.
That means a lot to me, you know, an email like that. The fact
makes
that
it
someone was having
it,
a particularly rubbish day and then just hears us just piddling about saying something stupid, and it just makes them go, you know, and you know what I mean? It just puts the bad stuff in perspective if you can just have a giggle at something pointlessly silly like a stagehand trying to hold Sutekh's chair down just as he gets off it.
Well, that's just a
dramatic moment.
That's what you need, isn't it? You know, you do sometimes just need a little laugh somewhere where possible.
I don't know what that hand is doing, though. What is he actually trying to achieve?
Perhaps Sutek had an itch that needed scratching. Perhaps they had a hand signal behind him, the hand that's not in shot to say, somebody itched my bum. And then somebody.
But he's already stood up, and then the hand comes in. It's just like maybe someone's got a bit of a fetish about touching warm seats after someone's been sitting on them. Let's touch that.
Perhaps somebody thought they'd left their pen under this. I better just grab that.
He's been hiding behind that seat for the whole scene.
Perhaps he's gaffer taped to the back of it. I just have to come along for the ride, really, So I had a particularly, talking of moments that make you laugh when you need them the most. I was having a particularly rubbish day yesterday. It was just one of those days where everything was going wrong, like everything that was put in front of me. And a BT technician came round, and I can honestly say it was the most boring person I've ever met in my entire life.
And he's here now.
But I never have trouble talking to people. But my gosh, this was really difficult because I knew as soon as I opened the door, I thought this is going to be difficult because I opened the door. So, come in. And he didn't say a word. So, right, come then, down here then. And he walks in and he's very quiet. So, right, well, anyway, and I tell him the problem and he goes, okay. And he just gets out this bit of paper and starts going. And suddenly this room, which was very jubilant before he called, I could just hear the clock going. I said, yes. I said, so. I said, any ideas what we can do? Well, I'll just try a few things here. And it was painful. And it got to the point, where I'm like, Nick, I started to get the giggles because it was just so, he was impenetrable. And I was saying things like, so you've been busy today? I expect you must get so fed up with having to see all these routers. Well, sometimes I get a wiring job. And I just was like biting my tongue, you boring man. Oh dear, it was just crippling. But that was what I needed. And of course, after that, when he left, I just burst out laughing. And the rest of the day, I felt fine. And I think sometimes you just need a giggle, don't you?
You do. Yeah, it's a good point. Good Lord. Right, coming up here, the next email, Man-Eater of Surrey Green, all the seeds of doom, ! Sent again on the 9th in the year 0229. This is from Alex Pass, our good friend Alex Pass. Hello, chaps, and a very happy new year to you all. A few random observations on this little gem, brackets lettuce, of an Avengers episode. That poor dead astronaut in the mini rocket didn't appear to have a very good dental plan. All he wanted for Christmas was a few front teeth. Mrs. Peel says there are whole areas of vegetation on the moon. I know, that really made me laugh. Latest photographs have shown whole areas of vegetation. Suddenly puts it in a historical context. She could have got away with it if she'd said Mars. That would have been vaguely allowable. But the moon...
But the moon, we can see it. And
really?
It can't be on the other side because plants need sunlight to grow. So it's just ridiculous.
Well, this is a sun lamp. So yes, that really was Alex's reaction with an exclamation mark, 2 exclamation marks and 2 question marks. Alternatively positioned, I thought. Alternately positioned. Considering how Doctor Who's serial The Moonbase showed the surface of the moon just a year later, I'm guessing this scientific evidence, in inverted commas, was more H.Q. Wells than NASA. I think you mean H.G., but anyway, H.Q. Wells. I quite like that. Patrick McNee's comedy chopping mime. My 8-year-old daughter thought he looked more like he was playing table tennis. Oh, that's right. He was chopping away with that sword, wasn't he?
Yeah.
At the thing that had grabbed the old woman. And yeah, it was. He thought, no, that's not making contact, is it? How much herbicide is there in that bottle? Yes, because they keep kicking it over and it falls out and it glugs out, and then they pick it back up again. And do you remember that bit in the fight?
I do. Yeah,
we'll talk
I do.
About that later.
Constant, on just repeated. Anyway, we'll talk about it later.
Talking of herbicide, Steed basically wins by basting an unconscious Mrs. Peel in the stuff and feeds her to the plant monster from outer space. Nice bloke. And last but by no means least, herbicidal maniac. groan. That is, in fact, the last line of the
Dreadful.
episode.
Dreadful.
But what we forget is that the people who made the Avengers largely saw it as a comedy, so we shouldn't take it too seriously. A fun 50 minutes of daft British 60s sci-fi, but I think I prefer the Doctor Who remake, that is, The Seeds of Doom. Scorpy! Get Dumbar! Happy times and places. Big Al. P.S. I thought it best not to mention the cactus on the car seat. Kenneth Williams' voice. Oh, well, really?
Oh, yeah, that made me laugh. Terribly phallic. Terribly phallic. Now, looking forward to touching on that one. Thanks for messaging in. This one, subject Britbox.
You just said it was phallic, and you said, I'm looking forward to touching on that one. It's all,
No.
It's all getting very suggestive.
It's all getting wrong. Oh, crikey. Subject in this one, Britbox, sent 1335 on the 7th of the 1st, 2020, this year. This is from Peter Kemmerer, in hushed, close to microphone voice. Hello, good day, goodness, Loch Ness. Aha.
That's cheating, just playing the game on your own.
Playing the game on your own, yeah. Greetings, Nick and Benji. I'm looking for some help. I bought BritBox over here in the States to have easy access to classic Doctor Who, and it's been absolutely fantastic. As an American, though, I don't have much of a clue as to what might be good British TV outside of the Whoniverse, and I was wondering if you could point me to some of your favourite non-Who shows on BritBox, maybe even do some upcoming episodes on some of them. Thanks, Peter Kemmerer.
Right, I don't know what US BritBox has on it, though. Will it have the same things that the UK one does?
This is very true. I mean, I'll look on the UK one now and suggest a few things. I got really excited yesterday because I saw they've uploaded Our Friends in the North, which is brilliant.
Oh, have they?
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
like to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, Our Friends in the North is up. Detectorist is on there. That's very good.
Is it?
Yeah, I love Detect. If you like that work, the New Worlds or Gummidge, you'd like Detectorist. It's the same kind of relaxing thing. Midsummer Murders, Vera's very good. Not a big fan, but it's very good. Broadchurch.
The Marples are good.
Marples are
I
great,
watched
yeah.
those. That was good.
As are the Miss Marples.
Tinker Tailor, Soldier Spy.
Yeah.
That's very good. I would
Classy.
recommend that. Really enjoyed that.
God, there's loads. The good thing about BritBox, they do seem to be really uploading stuff now. They're really going for it, aren't they?
As opposed to pretending to, you mean?
Pretending to, yes, and dusting it under the carpet. Cracker, if you've got Cracker, that is a really, really good one to watch. I love Cracker.
Robbie Coltrane, yeah.
Yeah. Poirot, of course, is a great drama series.
Some films. I don't know whether you have the films that we have on ours, like the Ipcris File.
The Ipcris File.
Yeah.
Excellent. Life on Mars, if you've not seen it.
Oh,
now,
yeah,
that is very, very good.
Again, yeah.
I adore Life on Mars. It's just everything. It's one of my favourite shows. Inside Number 9 is terrific. These are all quite new things as well, so I don't know what you're into in terms of if you're talking about the more culty aspect of things. I suppose, yeah, Tinker Tailor, Soldier Spy, The Boys in the Black stuff is on there.
Oh yeah, I started watching that. That's actually very good.
It's very good.
Yeah, yeah.
And they've got
all
Mrs.
shot on video, which is a bit disconcerting, but done like a movie, but on video, you know.
Making do, in other words. You can watch films. The Eagle Has Landed, of course, one of Nick's favourite. The Fourth Protocol is a really good Michael Caine film, set in the Cold War. It's got Pierce Brosnan in it, driving around in you know those Ford Escorts, the ones in the 90s, which don't look very classy.
Yes.
But they go from being like really classy in the 80s to being bog standard. But he drives one of those in it, and I just can't help but look at it every time and think, oh, not a very nice car, is it? But it's meant to be, of course.
He's playing a sort of Russian sleeper agent, isn't he?
It seems, yeah, I've not seen it in a long time. I mean, it shows. I don't know what this says about the film, but it came free in the newspaper once, and so. They've got
it's got good pedigree in terms of the stars, but actually didn't get very good reviews, I think, is the bottom line.
I enjoyed it. You know, I enjoyed it. They got all the Norman Wisdom stuff on there. If you like,
Don't laugh at me, I'm a fool.
Don't laugh at me, 'cause I'm a fool. Darling Buds of May. Victoria. The list goes on. There's so many things. I'm just at
They
this
don't
point.
just list everything on there. He wanted a recommendation.
Father Brown, Gavin and Stacey, Live at the Apollo, a bit of Fry and Laurie, League of
sometimes
Gentlemen.
get a wiring job.
They have got the good. Yeah, I sometimes get a wiring job. They have got a bit of the Good Life on there now, which is quite nice.
What, just a bit of it?
Just a bit. Oh, I don't know if they've uploaded all of it. They did have the
Christmas.
I got
specials.
DL and Pasco. I like DL and Pasco. No, they've
Peter,
uploaded.
I bet you wish you never asked now.
They've got all of the Good Life on there.
But that's the last time I play the tart for you, Jerry. That's my favourite line from The Good Laugh. The Good Laugh.
The good laugh. It's a good laugh. It's a good laugh.
That's a good laugh.
But there you go. There's a few
Brilliant.
things for you to enjoy there. There's certainly
There's a hugely long list.
Yeah, but there's food for thought there. You know, there's something for everybody, which I think is quite nice. Yeah, this is the BritBox podcast.
Well, there you go. It's time for The Avengers, the Man-Eater of Surrey Green. Benji, take it away. What did you think?
Well, of course, it's the Avengers, isn't it? So with the Avengers, it
Nicely
goes under the kind of the category of being brilliant because it's the Avengers and it's great fun. Now, I've got, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. There are a few little things in it which really didn't gel with me in some ways. And I'm actually, one of the things I'm going to drop...
You're going to nitpicky, are you?
I'm going to nitpick something which I know will come as a shock to listeners and yourself, Nick, because you'd think that I would think the opposite. But I found the music thoroughly irritating.
Oh.
And I love all old music, but my God, it was so intrusive, especially that tuba. I just found it so irritating, and it would take whatever was going on in the scene and just destroy it for me with irritation. It was far too loud as well. So that really bothered me.
That's a feature of these black and white episodes, that particular season. The music is very dominant in all the episodes.
It's just too much.
Do you remember? You probably don't remember a few months back when I was watching some of them, and I said the music is there's like the third star of the show. And you have whole episodes that were basically Steed and Mrs. Peel just wandering around empty places, and the music featuring a lot. I think that there are two weird choices in this. The sort of theme for the plant thing, as you say, that tuba thing is, I don't know why they went for a sort of humorous kind of thing. That was wrong. And also, there's a reused cue from other episodes that gets used a lot. It's when he goes and knocks on the door, and they always use it.
I know the
when
bit.
Steed goes, dun, dun, dun. It's the long sort of, and they kept using that, and it wasn't in appropriate places. Actually,
it was a bit.
I see sort of where you're coming from.
And there were. I thought that the story was quite interesting. Using technology and the earpieces in order to to start.
Fun.
I thought that was a clever, fun thing. I loved the old woman.
Yes.
I thought she was brilliant. I've seen her in a few things, and she's always good
she's
fun.
Amazing. Yeah.
But she was great in this. I found that the problem is it's just ridiculous. You can't sit down and say this is great and it's very compelling, because it's not compelling, and it's just sort of.
You don't find ridiculous things compelling?
Well, it's hard to find this particular ridiculous thing compelling. But I loved it. It was sort of camp and fun, and with like the plants covering the doors and the ceiling, and then you get the ridiculous tentacle arms, whacking around.
Unlike Doctor Who, they had a bit more budget to play with, so that you can see constantly with something like this that actually requires quite a big sort of monster plant presence. They keep using really fascinating ways to avoid showing you, as it were, the money shot of the monster. We never really see it, do we?
But you see enough.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But I think the most intelligent, fun thing they do is that they make a big play of putting plastic on the ground. So when the plant grows, it grows up underneath the plastic. So you don't have to build a plant monster and risk it looking rubbish, because basically they've just got a load of people inside sort of making funny pushing shapes. So you start to imagine what the plant would be like, and then you only get little bits of it sort of coming round corners and grabbing people. So I thought that was... because they had the time, money, and ability to edit and position shots cleverly so something's blurring in front of the camera. You know what I mean? So you avoid the crumminess of Doctor Who, where quite often, because they're shooting it multi-camera, cut, live, as it were, a live recording. A lot of Doctor Who, their pants are down, everything gets exposed, all the unfortunate stuff, whereas the Avengers could cut around that. It's just a sort of slicker version of Doctor Who in a way, isn't it?
Well, it's very slick. That's the thing about the Avengers, isn't it? It's a slick production, and it is largely what I think makes it a success, as you say, not just the great budgetary stylistic choices like that, but it is the main cast. Undoubtedly, They carry the whole thing, because in a similar way to Doctor Who, you're very much with them, and whatever they say and whatever they encounter, you believe, and you're completely like, yeah, well, that's just happening, and apart from vegetation on the moon. But in this case, I was captivated by their performances, and actually quite enjoyed the fact that they seemed to be having a lot of fun making it, and that really came through to me. I thought all the cast actually I think really enjoyed this. It looked like quite a fun production.
Well, who can tell, but for sure. But yes, I completely take your point. Very charismatic from the leads as well. I mean, I'm intrigued by the cactus thing. When he sort of is showing the cactus, so he finds that cactus in the car. He goes back to the car after he's visited the villain, and the villain's chauffeur, who looks very sinister, but it turns out later that he's not really sinister. He's just been controlled by a plant. So I don't know why he has to look like a sinister person, but there you are. He puts a cactus. I mean, he goes around later on shooting people with shotguns, but so he doesn't shoot Steed with a shotgun because that would be too obvious. He puts a cactus underneath the rug that Steve sits on in his old-fashioned car. And Steve just manages to avoid it because he notices the rug is a bit ruckled up. And then he sees it and goes, oh! Then you cut to him and Mrs. Peel analysing it. Mrs. Peel revealing to Steed, and Steed is surprised, that to touch it would mean you would die because the spines are deadly. So I want to know what Steed has been doing with that cactus in the interim period, and why on earth you wouldn't think that the spines of a cactus were deadly, would you?
Well, I guess in this case they are.
I suppose if you're in an episode of The Avengers, you would suspect it. But it's just funny. I just think, what's he been doing with it? He never wants to. And because when she tells him, he goes, oh, and in the middle of the conversation, they drop it onto the floor and it rolls underneath the sofa and he has to get it out with his umbrella. None of which is relevant to the plot. But I just think that they thought, wouldn't this make this scene of explanations more interesting if it's done while there's a cucumber rolling on the floor and he's picking it up with his penknife and everything, and it's all, you get lots of close-ups of Steed sort of holding it close to his face and sort of looking at it in a kind of, ooh, this is horrible sort of way. If something's so horrible, don't hold it so close to your face.
I think as well, though, I think they were just having fun with how phallic it looked. Yeah, I think that's the other thing. Whoever's job it was to get the cactus or put that together was definitely having a laugh and thought, let's get the most silly looking one. But even then, you could tell they were really enjoying it, weren't they?
And it's interesting, isn't it, how much, and I've said this before, but how much this, you'll find it in other episodes from this series, it's much more science fiction than any other Avengers series.
Oh, definitely,
This was a science fiction episode. This was a plant from outer space that hit a spaceship and fell to Earth and is going to smother the Earth with vegetation. That's not a typical Avengers plot, is it?
It's going in that different direction, isn't it? And taking it a step, and a bold step in a different sort of, not genre but avenue. But it's nice and it's fun, and you can sort of, your mind does just sort of decide to do its own thing and go with it, doesn't it? But
I'm intrigued as to why they got more sci-fi in this particular season, because it sort of, they veer away from it again in later stories, especially when it went to colour. It just becomes quirky and weird.
I guess
this
just
is very
ideas.
Much like, there are outer space plants and they will come and invade the Earth. That's a slightly different proposition to the the market stall that the Avengers normally sets out. It's different. And they also basically have UNIT in this, before UNIT in Doctor Who, don't they? They have a military unit turn up with a scientific advisor. So basically Doctor Who and UNIT turn up. Happens to be a female scientific advisor, the elderly lady we were talking about. That's fascinating as well. She's amazing.
But they all work nicely together, don't they? You know, the whole group there. And there's that wonderful balance of people taking it seriously and people being silly. And she's a bit batty and sort of quirky throughout, isn't she? And it's nice. It works. I mean, the fight scene, you know, when Steed and Peel are battling over that herbicide thing, that was tedious after a while.
Yeah, it was an extended joke. The joke is that the herbicide, which is going to destroy the creature, is open. The container is open.
And so everywhere.
So Emma Peel, who's controlled by the plant, I'm just explaining it for people who haven't watched it, keeps kicking it over, and he keeps in the middle of the fight leaning down and picking it up, and in the middle of the fight she kicks it over again. When I say she, of course, I mean the stunt man who was playing her for most of that fight, who didn't look anything like her. But again, they shot it through bits of plant and stuff to try and disguise the fact that it blatantly wasn't Diana Rigg. But it's I mean, that fight sequence and all that plant grabbing them stuff they did everything to try and edit it and shoot it to make it work, but it doesn't quite work. No. I also want to know why the villain of the piece, who's controlled by plants, has mannequins of naked women all around the place covered in plants. Was that relevant to the plot at all?
I don't know. I mean, that was the sort of quirky sort of set design 60s choice, wasn't it, to make it interesting and amusing and stylish.
You wonder whether the line was in there in the script that Steed put in when he looks at this naked model covered in plant stuff. He says, "Come autumn, I hope to see more of you," because of course the leaves will fall off.
That's the thing, isn't it? Was it put in there? Who knows? But it was, you know, I like that because that was that very classic sort of 60s villain lair, wasn't it? I mean, very odd choice for what seems to be a very sophisticated plant-based research centre or whatever it was prior to being taken over. You know, it seemed very odd.
He wasn't as characterful as Harrison Chase in The Seeds of Doom, which some people would like us to compare this episode with.
It is very similar.
He was the original. This guy was the original voice of Aurak in Blake 7.
No way.
Yeah, because the Aurak originally had the voice of its creator, and I can't remember the name of the scientist. All Blake 7 fans are now screaming at their headphones. But yeah, so he did Aurak's voice in that first episode, and then later on, of course, they got Peter Tubman to do it because he was already there doing Zen.
Yeah, but I think there was no weak link cast-wise in this, actually. I think. You know, I thought everybody was really decent in it and delivered and made the production what it is.
The guy who played the botanist whose lady friend gets taken over, I kept thinking he was Stanley Baxter.
I can see. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, though. I thought it was funny that he just seemed more bothered about his experiments than the fact that somebody's just inexplicably walked off.
The love of his
ruined
life.
all this research.
But then he gets all upset about her, goes to see her, and gets electrocuted. There's this horrible moment where he gets electrocuted on a barbed wire. Presumably his hand's stuck there with barbed wire stuck through them as he's sizzling, and she just looks at him casually because she's been taken over by the plant.
And doesn't it feel, it's quite brutal, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
It's not at all casual. It's a real... He gets fried,
that's a feature
man.
of that sort of 60s television, isn't it? You know, things are much more genteel now, but they were just very bloodthirsty about death, weren't they? They were not necessarily showing blood. I mean, just easily dispatching people and it not being too big a deal.
Well, I always think with all these things, I always think, how do you explain all this stuff to everybody, all parties involved? Like, yes, we've got 5 dead bodies on the lawn here. Who do you tell to dispose of it without rousing suspicion? And also the family say, yes, well, so-and-so, he was battling a gigantic plant the size of, I don't know, Texas, and he got electrocuted on a fence. You know, I'm sorry about that. How are you? You know,
How are you?
You know, and it got anything planned? Probably not anymore.
Seen the price of bread these days.
Well, yeah, exactly. You know, it does. I always think that about these. I mean, it's just a bit chaotic, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, I loved it. I mean, the thing is, I saw it not that long ago, but I thought I'd better watch it again. Sorry, that's the noise of my radiator rattling. Would you like to hear it again? It's good, isn't it?
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
It's the highlight of the podcast. People will be writing in for months about the rattling.
They just want the radiator, the rattling radiator of old London town.
Just burnt my finger on it. But yes, I watched it again and I found it easy to watch again. It was just that extended fight at the end that tried my patience a bit, and I nearly fast-forwarded through it, but I didn't. Because I thought, the fight, the end, silly joke. But it is such a stylish piece of TV, and I will give it 4 exclamation marks. Yeah,
it gets a solid 4 from me. Solid 4. I can't, you know, it's by no means is it a masterpiece, but it's good fun, and I like it.
Highly recommend it, and look out for the box set of that season. I can't remember. Is it like the 2nd or 3rd season of the Avengers? I don't know, but it is a particularly strong, if you like sci-fi or science fiction fantasy, really science fantasy, I should say. Then that's
for you.
I would give it a go. I bought the next series, the colour ones, with Mrs. Peel, and I didn't find the stories quite so appealing. They were just a bit more just plain silly, as opposed to plain silly and vaguely based on something sciencey.
Well, I mean, I enjoy all these things when they've got a little bit more of the extraordinary involved, you know.
What are the similarities between this and Seeds of Doom, and do you think Robert Banks Stewart watched this or was influenced by this?
It's a weird one, isn't it? I mean, you know, it's similar in the case of gigantic plants and things taking over people, and
this is a Doctor Who 1976 one, in case you didn't know, folks.
Country houses and stuff. It's similar, but I mean, Country of Doom, Seeds of Doom, is a vastly superior entity, isn't it? Really, in pretty much every aspect.
Well, it's not as stylishly made, is it? It's not
stylishly made, but it feels
it's a better story.
I think it's got better atmosphere as well. This story sort of has quite a fun atmosphere, but it lacks the darkness of Seeds of Doom.
It's a little bit like comparing eggs with grass, though. I mean, they're completely different things, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, they're two different
eggs
animals.
With grass, what's the matter with me?
Eggs and they're two. I mean, everybody gets them mixed up. You know, whenever you see an egg, you think that looks like my lawn. Fast forward to my lawn, which is just a load of eggs.
It's like walking on eggshells round here. Should we do the Jamie Anderson thing?
Think it'd be rude not to.
Okay, and I'd just like to explain in advance, folks. I don't know whether I've ever mentioned it before, but unfortunately Benji can hear Jamie, but Jamie can't hear Benji. So I have to relay what Benji has said to Jamie and then cut out my relaying of it. So if it does sound a little stilted at times, or if poor Benji sounds a bit excluded, it's because Jamie can't hear what he's saying, and it's difficult for me, without interrupting the flow of conversation, to get in a representation of what Benji's saying. And so Benji, I think, keeps his comments to a minimum, don't you, to make life easier?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's, you know, I just have to interpret and occasionally contribate.
We'll have to get better technology, won't we?
Yeah.
We've got to ask him about when we're going to go to
Butlins.
No, you know, the thing.
The house. In the house.
What's the name of the series?
Dooby-dooby-doo, Secret Service.
The Secret Service. Anyway, let's see if he's here. Ooh, that was loud. God, it sounds like a machine gun.
I was thinking it sounds like a machine gun.
Hello. All right, cool, that's loud, isn't it? What?
Have you got a bad connection?
No.
Oh, it's all a bit pixelated and stuff.
Oh, you're not. See,
thank you.
Like me, you've had your hair cut, so we don't look. Neither of us looks like Coco the Clown anymore.
Speaking yourself. No, it's weird. I feel like a different person without my enormous lumps of hair on the sides of my head and nowhere else.
I know exactly how you feel.
It's not fair, is it?
Like I put that picture of me from the Big Finish office. You saw that? I put that on Facebook.
Yes.
Because I thought I looked like like I was made of wax.
Whose waxy granddad is that? Yeah.
Oh dear. It reminds me that one of the Big Finish sound designers, Lee Adams, did a cartoon drawing of me and Benji.
Granddad.
Yes, I saw it.
I look so old.
Oh,
And the fact that he didn't understand why I was offended, though, because that's clearly how he thinks of me, just some old bloke.
Yeah. Afraid so.
lovable old man.
So, is this the old bloke and young bloke show?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Sit down, I'll read you a story.
What are you actually doing today? What's your thing?
We're doing the Avengers, the Man-Eater of Surrey Green.
Gosh, I have very little idea what that is other than the Avengers.
It's a big plant monster, so people think it's the inspiration for Seeds of Doom.
But is it not though? Is that proven otherwise, or is it a time issue, or what?
It's open to interpretation.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, right.
I mean, it is conceivable that Robert Banks Stewart might have seen it, or did Robert Banks Stewart write for the Avengers? Can you Google that, Benji?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it may be that he was on the writing team. You know, there's a stately home and there's a big plant monster and it takes over people's minds.
Yeah.
You know.
The answer to your question is yes.
Yes,
He did the Masterminds and Quick, Slow Death.
Right.
I know that Philip Levine wrote this one. And I wonder whether he sort of thought, oh, what was that thing that Phil wrote? Yeah, I think I'll do something a bit like that. I don't know.
Yeah. But I'll just do it as a Doctor Who. That'll be fine. Nobody will notice.
Well,
Yeah, that'll
Till
do.
now.
That old rubbish,
till
that'll
now,
do.
we study everything on DVD. We quite liked it. We gave it 4 out of 5.
That's more than quite liked, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
really rather liked.
It's very stylish. The Avengers is very stylishly made, you know, all shot on 35mm. It's black and white, but beautiful. Beautiful, yeah.
Gorgeous.
Benji, have you got a question for Jamie?
Yeah, let me get up the machine.
I think Jamie's house is on fire or something. He's looking around
I
rather.
think there's a rogue cat doing something it shouldn't be doing.
Rogue cat. Yes, go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you inherited or won $1 million, what is the first thing that you would do with the money?
Should we say £1 million?
Yeah.
Gosh. I don't really know, actually. That's an interesting one. I'm trying to think
What the priority is.
It's not a priority, but this says a lot about me in a not very good way. So my my hot water tank needs replacing in my house.
I'm totally with you there. That would be a huge priority for me if I had a problem with my hot water tank.
Yeah, because it causes all sorts of heating issues, and there's not enough hot water in that tank to have a bath.
Oh,
And I
Oh, it
love
doesn't
having
sound
a bath
fun.
as a bit of a treat. You know, if I've got a bit of a bad back or whatever,
Yeah.
I can't have one here.
do you do
So,
kettles?
I suppose I could do that. So I'd either get the hot water tank fixed or buy 20 kettles. I wouldn't have to do them in sequence. I could do them all in parallel.
That'd be good, yeah.
What a treat. Oof.
Benji, what would you do?
Probably go to the pub, maybe. That would be the first logical thing to do to celebrate with a pint.
And you laughing because that's not dissimilar to what you do.
I don't know what I'd do. I'd certainly buy the that Pro Tools thing we were talking about, and a really powerful computer. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably just spend it on gear, I think.
You mean audio gear?
Loads of audio gear. Yeah, I mean, if I had £1 million, I would build a studio, like a really nice facility. Either that or just
Nice.
go off grid and get a bungalow in somewhere.
Go off grid and get a bungalow somewhere.
Well, abroad, you know.
Yeah, you can only go off grid if you're in a single story, to be fair. So.
Bungalow. Bungalow seems such a mundane word, doesn't it? When you £1 million, definitely get a bungalow.
What's the etymology of the word bungalow?
Well, it's like those annoying people that say when they win the lottery, they say not much will change. They say, "Oh no, but I'll probably just stay the same.
Just have more expensive shoes."
I'll still go to work on Monday.
Bungalow, it derives from the Hindi word Bangla, meaning belonging to Bengal.
Wow.
Well, I mean, that's obvious, isn't it? I mean, we all belong to Bengal in a sort of way.
Yeah. I was always told it's because it means they said, they were building a house and ran out of money, and someone said, well, bungalow roof on.
Oh, nice. I prefer the more exotic version here.
What's that?
Well, the Hindi.
Oh, I see. Oh, right. I thought you had a third option.
No, not at all. But yeah, from a type of cottage built for early European settlers in Bengal.
That's good.
It works, doesn't it?
Fascinating source of educational material on this podcast, it seems.
Yes.
So, Jamie, when are we going to do our fab little weekend away to the House of Secret Service?
The House of Secret Service. Okay, we're going to do it.
Oh no.
On the weekend.
Yeah.
After Easter.
When's that?
The weekend after Easter is the 18th and 19th of April.
Oh.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, it feels reasonable to me. Reasonable.
Yeah. So we're right. Okay, I'm putting it in the diary.
Yeah,
what's the name of the place again?
Foxley Manor.
Foxley Manor.
I've also put it in the diary here.
Right.
I will send an invite to Richard James as well.
Yeah, we got to work out how much it is. It's too expensive. I'm not feeling very rich at the moment.
Oh, yeah, no, if it's too expensive, we'll just go for a curry and pop round the posh house for a cup of coffee and then leave.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
It'll be fine. But there you go. It's right. In the diary. I've invited Richard.
All right, Benji.
Foxley Manor with the lads.
Hey, Foxley Manor with the lads.
That's right.
Excellent.
I'm glad we've got that sorted.
It takes just a bit of diarising, doesn't it?
I know, and so lucky that your listeners were able to hear the actual process live as it happened.
It's like a soap opera.
A really rubbish one will get cancelled after the first season. Yeah.
Definitely.
Like Neighbours with no neighbours.
Yeah. How many podcasts have we done, Benji?
I have no idea. I mean, up
70...
to this, I can find out. Yeah,
it'll be on Colin's artwork. The brilliant Colin Smith, who does fantastic artwork. He's the one who's keeping track of the whole.
He's our serial 98 by the looks of it.
98.
This will be the 9. This one is the 98th. He's our archivist. When we're gone and dead, he'll have the reels of tape or something.
He will. Jamie, I think it's time for you to go.
I agree. Thank you very much, though, for having me, Nick and Benji.
Well, thank you for coming.
It's good to have.
Goodbye, old one and young one.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, whatever, bye. My AirPods, which I'm wearing at the moment, are running out of battery, so I think we're going to have to quickly decide what we do next week.
So I'm thinking just what we've been watching, because we've been watching a lot. So that seems like a logical step to make. What have we been
watching? Well, Tightrope definitely is in there.
Okay, Broadchurch.
The Ambassadors of Death.
Survivors Series 3. Terror of the Autons.
That'll do.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah,
I think that's given Colin a lot of material there to work from.
a lot of
Is that
scope.
right, Colin? Yeah. We look
General
forward to it.
Scobie. Don't know why I
And
said
also,
that.
do keep sending your emails into podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. I feel we should ask you some specific questions, but I can't think of any at the moment, so good luck with that. Perhaps you could write in with questions that we could ask listeners. How about that?
Yeah,
Come
there we
on.
go.
There's a challenge.
To ask us to ask you.
I'm getting close to the microphone now. Just to
Yes, I
say
suppose
thanks,
it's that time, isn't it? So,
Yes. Goodbye.
from me here, it's goodbye. Bye, bye, bye.
Pressing stop now. Ka-chunk. Oh.